friend, I am Pritam. Welcome to our channel Engineering Educators. Here, mechanical, civil, and electrical engineering subjects or topics will be discussed, as well as the non-technical portion also will discuss. Before starting today's my video, I would like to request all please subscribe, like, and share as much as possible. Okay, let's start. Today I will discuss the Staff Selection Commission, which is SSC JEE for mechanical, and the set number is day of 22 January 2018. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here question 1 is the number of link L which is required to form a kinetic chain can be expressed in terms of number of pair P. Here P is the pair and L is the link. So correct answer is option 1. As option 1 is a equation L is 2P minus 4, which equation, whether its equation satisfied, then only we can say a chain, a kinematic chain. Okay, let's come to the question number 2. What is the total number of link and join in the mechanism as shown in the figure? Okay, let's count the link. Here link 1, link 2, fixed link is the link 3, and that roller is the link 4. So number of link is 4. And let's count the join. Here join number 1, join number 2, and here contact between the surface and the roller is join number 3, and roller with the link here, that hinge one, is the joint number 4. So number of joint is also 4. So option 4 is the correct answer. Let's come to the next question. Here, what is the degree of freedom of a mechanism as shown in below? Okay, here mechanism is shown. So we know from Kutzbach equation F equals to 3 into L minus 1 minus 2J minus H. Here L is the link, J is the joint, and H is the higher pair. So here all pair is lower pair, no higher pair exists here. So H will become 0 here. So let's calculate the value of F. So F equals to number of link 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fixed link, all fixed link will count as one link. So total number of link is 5. So 3 into 5 minus 1, which is equals to 4, minus 2J. Number of joint is 1 joint, 2 joint, 3 joint, 4, and 5 joint. So number of joint is 5, and minus 2 into 5 is equals to 10. So ultimately we will found the value of F equals to 2. 12 minus 10 is 2. So option 2 is correct. Then let's come to the question number 4. The graph of turning movement diagram is drawn between. Here expression is there, which is the crank effect. The crank effect CE, the crank effect is equals to P into R into here sine theta plus sine 2 theta divide 2 into root over n square minus sine square theta here. So what is n? N is, as you all know, n is obliquity ratio. So from the equation here, P and R, you can see P and R together count as movement. So you will get the expression between crank effect, movement, and the angle theta. So the correct answer is option 3, crank effect and crank angle. Come to next question. The mass of flywheel of a steam engine is 3250 kg with the radius of gyration is 1 meter. The starting torque of the engine is 4500 Newton meter, and what is the angular acceleration of the flywheel. So for solving that question, we have to know the equation, that is T, torque, equals I into alpha. I is inertia, so it is also equals to m into k square, where k is radius of gyration and m is mass, and alpha is angular acceleration. So then put all the value in the equation. I we know, mk square, m we know, k radius is gyration is also given, then angular acceleration we have to calculate, and t is also given, that is here 4500 Newton meter is the t. So ultimately we will find that alpha equals to 1.838. Option 4 is the correct answer. Let's come to the next question. Here a pulley is driven by a flat belt and maximum tension produced in the belt is of 1400 Newton. The belt has the density of 1000 kg per meter cube and 100 millimeter wide and 5 millimeter thick. What is the speed of the belt for the maximum power? So you have to know the relation first. So what is the relation? Which is, we know T max equals to 3 into Tc. Tc is the centrifugal tension and Tmax is the maximum tension. So from here we can also write 3 into substitute the Tc as mv square. So finally we will get the relation as v equals to root over T max by 3m. Here all data is given. V we have to calculate. T max we know. T max is 1400 Newton, and m is not known, but here we have to calculate m. How we will calculate the m? See, m equals to volume into here mass. Weight density is given W, which is weight density is 1000 kg per meter cube, and volume, how we will calculate the volume? Here, see, the width 100 millimeter, we have to convert it into meter, and then 5 millimeter thickness, we also have to convert it in meter, into, here L is not given, but we will take L as 1 meter, then calculate it and put the value in the final expression, which is v equals to root over T max by 3m. So m we will get, and finally we will get the value of v is 30.55, which is option number 3. Come to next question. When the friction lining is new, the wear varies. Here question 8 have to cover. The pressure distribution in the uniform wear theory is inversely of. Question number 7 first. So rotary internal combustion engine is the inversion of. So it's a always remember it's internal combustion engine. Internal combustion engine means here slider, obviously a slider crank mechanism. It's obviously a single slider crank mechanism, that is option number 3, single slider crank mechanism. Let's come to the next question. The pressure distribution in the uniform wear theory is. So in the uniform wear theory we know PR. The uniform wear theory we know PR is equals to constant. So then for uniform wear theory, PR is constant, as we all know. So here P is inversely proportional to 1 by R. That is the answer, which is option number 3. Let's come to next question. When the friction lining is new, the wear varies. Options are given. So always remember that new friction lining uniform pressure theory always applicable, and for the older friction lining getting older, then for that uniform wear theory will be applicable. Okay, then for that question here, as uniform has friction lining is new, so we will apply the uniform pressure theory, UPT, uniform pressure theory. For uniform pressure theory, what it's say that P is constant, so P is constant, but the wear theory varies. They say that wear theory, so it is a technically brilliant question. It's so calculate like this way: P into R is equals to R into constant. So RR will cancel out. So PR is the wear theory. So wear is proportional to R. So wear is directly proportional. From here we will find wear is directly proportional to radius, which is option 1. Let's come to the next question. When the radius of distance of tooth from the pitch circle of the top of the tooth is known as, so its answer is addendum circle. For a gear profile, this is the top circle, which is addendum circle. Then the middle circle is the pitch circle, and the lower circle is dedendum circle. And beyond the dedendum circle, here another circle is there, which is clearance circle. And from the top to the pitch circle, up to pitch circle, it is called addendum. And from pitch circle to up to dedendum circle, it's called the dedendum. So here correct answer is addendum. Let's go to the next question. Which of the following statement is true about the contact ratio? Here contact ratio is CR. Contact ratio is equals to arc of contact divide circular pitch, PC, which is also equals to circular pitch equals to m into pi. So from the expression we can say all the options are correct. Let's go to the next question. Which of the following option is the type of pendulum governor? Always pendulum type means the what governor. Hartnell governor is not a pendulum type, but it is a spring type governor. And Potter, it's not a pendulum type governor. So option 4 is the correct answer. Let's go to the next question. Which of the following governors does not have the central load attached to their sleeves? Which is the what governor? In case for a Potter governor, sleeve is not massless. You can see the mass here, as well as in case for a Podel governor, you also find that sleeve is with mass, but the what governor, sleeve is massless. So option 2 is correct answer. Then next, what will be the vertical height of the governor if the speed of rotation if the speed of rotation is 80 millimeters? So let's see the expression first. H equals to 895 divide n square. Everything is given. N is given 80 rpm and n is given as 80 rpm. After putting all the value in the expression, you will get the correct answer is option C, 0.14. Let's come to the next question, which is 15. Which of the following terms define the size of the camp? Always base circle. Okay, that is option 1 is correct. Then 16. What terms? Question number 16. What terms in is used for combined effect of all the forces on a body? So combined effect of forces we can termed as combined load. Okay, let's go to the question number 17. Which of the following load does not act as a considerable length of the beam? So here point is not considered as you can see, for this is a simple cantilever beam, it's uniformly varying load, and for uniformly distributed load here it's rectangular, it's triangular, it's rectangular, uniformly distributed load. But in case for a point load, you will see that point load will act only on the point of a beam. So correct answer is here the point load. Then question number 18. Which term states the SI unit of the stress? Here Newton per millimeter square. Option number 2 is the correct answer. As we know, Newton per millimeter square equals to megapascal, and for Newton per meter square, which termed as Pascal. Let's come to the next question, which is question number 19. Maximum shear stress theory was postulated by the option. Maximum shear stress theory, we can say that Tresca and Guest and Tresca's theory is known as the maximum shear stress theory, and maximum shear stress theory mainly used for the ductile material. And Rankine, as we all know, Rankine for maximum principal stress theory, which is always used for the brittle material. And Saint-Vance also is one type of theories of failure, but the modes theory is not theories of failure, it's actually deflection theory. So here correct option is option number 4. Then come to the question number 20. The equivalent length of the column when both the end is fixed. So first of all, you have to know the expression for a column. Equivalent length LE is equals to, is termed as alpha into L. L is the length and LE is the equivalent length. So alpha is equals to, so here alpha we have to find for both end fixed. For the both end fixed, alpha is half. For one end, for both end hinged, value of alpha is 1, and for one end fixed and one end hinged, value of alpha is 1 by root 2, and for one fixed end and another is free end, for that value of alpha is 2. So here value of alpha is half, which is option number 2. Let's proceed to the next question. The slenderness ratio of a column is, so first we have to know the expression. So expression is for slenderness ratio is S equals to LE, which is equivalent length, divide K, and the value of K is root over I mean divide A. That is the expression, and LE we know alpha into L. So from here we can say option number 1 is the correct answer, which is directly proportional to the effective length. Then next question is, ranking theory is applicable to the So ranking theory, first of all we have to know the expression for ranking theory. We know the expression 1 by PR ranking load is equals to 1 by PC, which is crushing load, by 1 by P 1 by PE, which is buckling load. So here buckling as well as crushing both are considerable. So ranking theory is applicable for both short and long column. Both short and long column. Option number 3 is the correct answer. Let's proceed to the next question. Which of the following assumption is incorrect about the long column? For long column, here several options is there, but the correct option is the material is non-uniform and anisotropic. As you all know, every strength of material equation based on first assumption, which is material is homogeneous and isotropic. Otherwise every equation will fail. So here also that option number 4 is absolute incorrect. You can say it's ultra incorrect. Okay, let's proceed to the next question, which is 24. What is maximum shear stress on the wall of the thin cylinder if it has a diameter of D and thickness T? The gauge pressure in the cylinder is P. So we have to write the, for a thin cylinder, two types of stresses are there. One is hoop stress, which is equals to PD by, okay, let's forget it. No, just write it. Hoop stress is PD by 2T, and for sigma, hoop stress and circumference stress, or you can say hoop stress, and another one is longitudinal stress, which is PD by 4T. It consider it as sigma 1 and it's as sigma 2. Then the shear stress, from shear stress theory we know in plane tau max is equals to sigma 1 minus sigma 2 divide 2 mod of, always take the positive value, So after putting the value of sigma 1 and sigma 2, we will find that final expression will PD by 80. So option 4 is the correct answer. Let's come to the next question, which is what is the volumetric strain in the thin cylinder subject to internal pressure having hoop stress of 200 megapascal and modulus of elasticity E is 200 gigapascal and Poisson ratio is 0.25. So let's see the first expression. Expression says epsilon V, which is volumetric strain, is equals to hoop stress sigma H divide E into 5 minus 4 mu. So put all the value. Hoop stress, we know hoop stress is 200 megapascal and E also we know 200 gigapascal. Make it megapascal as 200 into 10 cube gigapascal to megapascal. Then put the value of mu. We all know value of mu is 0.25. So final expression, we will get the final answer is option 2 by 1000. Let's come to question number 26. The property of the material to regain its original shape after deformation when the external forces are removed. Its property obviously say the elasticity, because for plasticity permanent deformation will occur there. So option number 2 is the correct answer. Let's come to the question number 27. The correct shear force diagram for the cantilever beam with a uniformly distributed load over the whole length of the beam is. So let's draw a normal cantilever beam. It's a cantilever beam. If the load is acting here at the free end, and the maximum and the resisting load will be there at the fixed end. If it is W, then obviously it will also W. Sorry, it's uniformly distributed. Okay, so for uniformly distributed, that's a cantilever beam, that's uniformly distributed load, let's say of W, load of W. So and the length is say L. So W is W, its unit will become Newton per meter. W Newton per meter. So total force will act on the middle portion of the beam, which is W. Total length is L. W into L, it's the total load. So at the fixed end, the resisting load will also become upward WL. So finally we can say we have to now draw the shear force diagram. Shear force, it's upward. First WL is upward. Okay, let's erase all the. Okay, so final shear force, it's WL. If it is total length is L, it's W. Then the shear force will become triangular. Here only one triangular, but it's a straight line, not parabolic or cubic. So option 1 is the correct option. Let's come to question number 28. A rod of dimension of 20 mm cross 20 mm is carrying an axial tensile load of 10 kilonewton. The tensile stress developed is. It's a very simple question. Just find the stress. Sigma equals to P. P here is 10 kilonewton into 10 cube for making it Newton. Divide the area, which is 20 millimeter into 20 millimeter. So final expression is Newton per in below millimeter square. So which is count as Pascal, and final answer we'll get from here is 25 megapascal. So option 3 is the correct answer. Next question is, which of the following is correct bending moment diagram for the cantilever beam carrying uniformly varying load from 0 at the free and W unit per length of the fixed end? See here, they say about, here they ask for moment diagram, not the shear force diagram. In the previous question there was shear force diagram which is straight line, but for moment diagram no straight line can be occur here. So option 1 and option 4 is absolutely wrong option, and and for option 2, so here you can see between option 2 and option 3, movement at the fixed end. See here, movement at the fixed end will be maximum and at the free end will 0. But in case of option 3, movement at the fixed end is 0 and free end it can't possible. So option 2 is the correct answer here. Let's come to the question number 30. Which is the correct option for polar moment of inertia of a solid shaft? So here first of all we have to know the perpendicular axis theorem. What is the perpendicular axis theorem? IZZ is equals to IXX plus IYY. It's IZZ. It is also called the polar moment J. It's term as J. So J equals to, we can find for a shaft it's IXS equals to pi by 64 d square and d square and so for a shaft j equals to pi by 64 d square and yy equals to also pi by 64 into d square into 2. So finally we will get pi by 32 into d square, which is option 2 is the correct answer. Okay guys, thank you. In the next day I will discuss rest of the question. Stay with us, follow our channel and get updated. So thank you again. Please don't forget to subscribe our channel, like and share. Thank you.